Right, folks, let's dive into a story that's shaping up to be one of the big positives for Celtic heading into the summer. Just when we thought things couldn't be going more in our favor, some timely financial backing has landed a paradise, and it's got people talking. Celtic Park's buzzing, not just about the possibility of sealing a fourth league title on the bounce, not just about chasing down yet another treble, but also about this injection of cash that's dropped in at exactly the right moment. It's one of those rare situations where the timing's actually perfect. Now, here's the thing. UEFA's been handing out payments to clubs for releasing players for international duty. Sounds simple enough, right? But it turns out Celtic have come away with a rather handsome chunk of the pot. 13 Scottish clubs are receiving payments, but none quite like Celtic. Over £2 million were divided up, and the boys from Glasgow are set to pocket just shy of £900,000. To be precise, 882,958 quid. That's right, nearly $1 million in the bank just for allowing players to go off and represent their countries. Let's be honest, in today's footballing world, that sort of money might not exactly have people falling off their chairs. It's not going to buy you a star striker out of the blue, and it barely covers the wages of a solid starter. But it's still a bonus. It's still a boost. It's still more than any other Scottish club is getting. And in this game, every edge matters, especially when it comes to outpacing the competition. What makes it even sweeter is that Celtics taking home more than double what our old rivals across the city are set to receive. Rangers, for example, will see 433,000 quid land their way. Not bad, but nowhere near what Celtic's cashing in. You don't need to be an accountant to see the advantage in that. When you combine Champions League, qualifications prize money from domestic trophies, and now this boost from UEFA, the club is slowly but surely building a stronger foundation, both on and off the pitch. It's also important to remember that this money isn't just for the players who've turned out for Scotland. This is a Europe-wide thing. So lads going out to play for Denmark like our own international reps count too. Every player who's pulled on a national shirt and left the club temporarily to do so has played a part in this payout. And that's no small thing given the risk clubs take when releasing players. Injuries, fatigue, disruptions to squad rhythm. It's fair to say this is a modest way of balancing that risk, and in Celtic's case, it's paid off nicely. Now, let's take a step back for a second. Across Europe, bigger leagues are pulling in enormous sums through the same system. The Premier League's share, for instance, is about £40 million. Serie A gets £30 million. Even clubs down in England's 10th division are picking up something like £7 grand. So for Scotland to get just over £2 million as a whole, that's modest, sure. But Celtic leading the way in those earnings, it means something. It's not just about the money, it's a reflection of how much Celtic contributes to the wider footballing world, and that shouldn't go unnoticed. UEFA's president actually made a statement about all this, saying it's brilliant to see clubs at every level being financially recognized for developing players who light up the international stage. And he's right. Every big win in international football is made possible by club sides putting in the work week in and week out to develop these players. When UEFA recognizes that when clubs like Celtic are rewarded, it's not just fair, it's long overdue. This cash, of course, comes at a pivotal time. With the summer window around the corner, any extra funding could help push through deals that might have seemed a stretch a few weeks ago. We all know how vital those moments can be. A few $100,000 here, a small signing there, it adds up. And if Celtic can maintain that financial lead, it only strengthens the case for continuing domestic dominance and making real waves in Europe again. Speaking of Europe, remember Alex Valle, a player some had high hopes for when he arrived on loan from Barcelona. He didn't set the world alight, but he showed glimpses. With Greg Taylor holding down the spot and new arrivals like Jeffrey Schlupp coming in, Valle didn't get much of a run. Eventually, he left in January, and at the time, it didn't feel like a massive loss, but now, turns out he's doing pretty well. He moved on to Como in Italy, where he's been working under Cesc Fabregas, and by all accounts, he's thriving. Strong performances, consistency. He started turning heads again. Word is a club from Germany has now contacted Barcelona about signing him permanently with fees around the $5 million mark being floated. Not bad for a lad who had a quiet spell at Celtic just months ago. Apparently there was an option to buy him when he was here, and it was quite affordable too. So now we're left watching from the sidelines as his value climbs. It's a bit frustrating, but also a reminder of how unpredictable this game can be. Still, hindsight's a dangerous game. At the time, nobody really saw Vale as the answer. At left back, some fans were gutted to see him go, thinking he had the potential to become a mainstay, but others just didn't see him outshining Taylor or offering anything radically different. And maybe that's fair. But what's clear is that he didn't let the Celtic spell define him. He moved on, took his chance, and he's building a path for himself now. But while we're on the topic of perspectives, let's address something that's been getting under the skin of a lot of Celtic fans lately. Every single time we get close to securing another title or treble, the same tired opinions start popping up. It must be boring supporting Celtic, they say. There's no competition, they say. Honestly, it's laughable. People outside the Celtic circle love to throw shade when we're winning and then act like it's the end of the world when we stumble. You can't win with them, can you? If we fall short of a treble, they point fingers. If we secure another one, they say it's dull and predictable. It's a now-in situation. But here's the truth. There's nothing boring about winning. There's nothing dull about watching your team dominate. There's pride, there's history, there's a standard to uphold. And Celtic are doing just that. I saw an article today. One of the most ridiculous pieces of football writing I've come across in a while. The headline, sorry, but this will be the most boring treble of all time. Can you believe that the argument, if you can even call it that, was basically saying Celtic's success is too routine, too expected, that there's no excitement anymore, no thrill, as if we should apologize for being good at football. Let's just stop there for a second. The writer actually questioned how the team and manager stay motivated when the league's so predictable. I mean, seriously. Have you seen the pressure Celtic play under week in, week out? Have you seen the expectations, the constant scrutiny? And yet, even under all that, they keep delivering, and that's where I'll leave this part of the story, because there's so much more to unpack. From the media narratives to the legacy that's been built right before our eyes, we'll keep this conversation going. But just remember this, being brilliant isn't boring, it's legendary. Let's keep this going then, because the nonsense doesn't stop with one daft article. The idea that this treble, yes, a potential third treble under our current manager, should be brushed off as unremarkable or worse, boring, just shows how out of touch some folk are with what this club represents. You want to talk about boring, try finishing mid-table with nothing to play for. Try getting knocked out of cup competitions before the quarterfinals. That's boring. Winning is never boring. Winning is joy, it's pride, it's the reward for relentless work. The thing that gets me, though, is how quick people are to diminish success when it comes from Celtic. If we're on top, it's because the league is weak. If we stumble, it's because we're falling apart. Never mind that we've built something sustainable. Never mind the youth development, the smart recruitment, the European ambition. None of that gets acknowledged when people are too busy calling trebles predictable. Predictable. Since when has winning 3 major domestic honors in one season become easy? It's been done a handful of times in our entire history. Let that sink in. This isn't routine. This is rare. It's historic. And yet some of these pundits and writers would rather sneer than celebrate. And the worst part, it's not even original criticism anymore. Every season, it's the same tired script. Celtic have it too easy. I will tell that to the players busting a gut every week, to the staff putting in endless hours behind the scenes. Tell that to the fans who've watched this club rise, fall, and rise again. And it's not just lazy journalism, it's disrespect. Disrespect to the players who've grafted their way into this squad. Disrespect to a manager who's one of the most decorated in Scottish football. Disrespect to fans who follow this club through wind and rain, through highs and heartbreaks. You think they care if someone in a press box finds our treble run uninspired? They don't. Because they were there when it wasn't like this. They were there in the lean years. They remember what it's like to scrap for everything. That's what makes this run special. That's what makes it matter. Let's talk about Brendan Rodgers for a minute, because his name's been thrown about lately in some truly bizarre ways. There was even a line suggesting Celtic fans are comparing him to Jock Stein. Are you mad? No Celtic fan with any sense would ever put Rodgers in the same bracket as Stein. It's not even close. We all know that. Jock Stein is sacred. He delivered the impossible. He brought the European Cup to Celtic Park. He led the Lions. He stands alone. No one's touching that legacy. But does that mean we can't appreciate what Rodgers is doing now? Absolutely not. because what he's doing, bringing consistency silverware style, it's remarkable in its own right. This could be his third treble. Let me repeat that. Third treble. That's not small time stuff. That's not something that just happens by luck. That's structure. That's standards. That's setting the bar high and hitting it year after year. And still people want to question if this current squad is even among the best we've had. Look, I'm not here to say this is the greatest Celtic team of all time, but to dismiss them outright, that's just nonsense. There are players in this team who would walk into any Celtic side from the past decade. That's a fact. This group has gone toe-to-toe with top European clubs, pushed through injuries, faced pressure from all angles, and kept on winning. That deserves respect. Let me tell you something about the spirit in this squad. You don't keep winning like this if the dressing room's not united. You don't grind out results week after week if the belief isn't there. And you certainly don't chase trebles for fun. These lads care. You see it in every match. You see it in how they celebrate and how they fight for every ball. And yet the media would have you believe they're just going through the motions. It's insulting. And speaking of insults, how about this narrative that our players are unhappy and looking for a way out? Where is that coming from? Because from where I'm sitting, I'm seeing players like Alistair Johnston and Dyson Maeda committing to long-term deals. I'm seeing lads fighting for the badge, giving everything week in, week out. But suddenly there's talk of Rio Hatare being unsettled, Greg Taylor heading off Johnston on his way out. Based on what guesswork clickbait, these rumors pop up every time we hit a bit of form. It's as if people can't accept that Celtic might just be a place where players want to be. Shocking, I know. A club with a massive fan base, European football trophies, and a manager with a track record of improvement, why would anyone want to stay here? It's baffling, really. And it reeks of a desperation to destabilize. They can't beat us on the park. So the next best thing is to stir up drama off it. But here's the thing. Celtic's built differently now. We've learned from the past. We've built a squad with depth. We've built a culture that players buy into. And that's why we're in this position. It's not by chance, it's by design. So when the articles start flying about the most boring treble ever, just remember who's writing them. Folk who don't understand what it means to live and breathe Celtic. Folk who don't get the pride, the passion, the history. And when you start labeling trebles as uninspired, you better have a strong argument. Because newsflash, most clubs will never get near one. Most fans will never see. Their team lived 3 trophies in one season. And yet here we are on the cusp of another, and the best some people can do is yawn. That's their problem, not ours. We should be shouting this from the rooftops. We should be celebrating what this team's achieving. Yes, there's always room to grow. Yes, we want to compete better in Europe, but don't let that take away from what's being done right here, right now. This is a golden era, and if people outside the club can't appreciate it, that's fine. They don't have to, but don't expect us to apologize for winning. Don't expect us to shrink ourselves down just to make others feel more comfortable. This club's been through it all. Success, failure, betrayal, resurrection. And through it all, we've held our heads high. We've done it our way. So the next time someone tries to tell you this treble's meaningless, you remind them what it took to get here. The hours, the sacrifices, the unity. You remind them that nothing about winning is ever boring. And there's plenty more to discuss, of course. More headlines, more speculation, more noise. But for now, just let this sink in. Celtic are on the brink of another historic chapter. And no headline, no pundit, no bitter column will change that. This is what we do. This is who we are. Let them talk. We'll keep winning. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Danny Armstrong, the fiery winger of Kilmarnock, has sparked controversy across Scottish football this week after making pointed remarks about Celtic that many fans and pundits are calling disrespectful. In a candid post-match interview following his side's recent clash, Armstrong didn't hold back in his criticism of the Glasgow Giants, questioning both their mentality and consistency on the pitch. There's always a lot of talk about Celtic being miles ahead, Armstrong said, but honestly, they're not as invincible as folk make them out to be. We've gone toe-to-toe with them, and they don't like it when teams stand up to them. They've got weaknesses. You just have to have the bottle to expose them. His comments come in the wake of Kilmarnock's spirited performance against the boys a match that ended in a tense draw but left Armstrong clearly unimpressed by Celtic's approach. They play with arrogance," he added. "They expect to turn up and roll everyone over. But that's not how this league works. You have to earn it." Unsurprisingly, the reaction has been swift. Celtic supporters were quick to hit back on her. Social media defending their club and pointing to its track record of success in recent years. Some branded Armstrong's words as sour grapes, while others questioned whether his comments were a veiled attempt to fire up his own dressing room as the season nears its climax. On the other hand, there's a section of Scottish football fans who welcomed the honesty. "It's about time someone called them out," one supporter wrote online. "Celtic get away with too much because of their size and history. Fair play to Armstrong for speaking his mind." Within the Celtic camp, there's been no official response, but sources suggest the comments haven't gone unnoticed. Whether Armstrong's words will serve as fuel for the hoops or simply fade away in the constant noise of the season remains to be seen. One thing's certain, the next time Kilmarnock and Celtic meet, the sparks are likely to fly again. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.